years, the conversation never stops.
Thank you very much for always tuning into Solutions 93.9 FM, your number one radio dial. My name is Adita LAFFY, and I welcome you to From the Dailies, where we get to take you through the trending stories in some of today's national dailies. It's another beautiful Tuesday morning, the 15th day in the month of October 2024. And because we have a little time to spend on the program this morning, let me introduce my analyst, who is joining me virtually this morning. A beautiful morning to you, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe.
A good morning to you, my dear brother, Comrade Damola LAFFY. Yes, good morning to our listeners and viewers wherever you may be located. Good morning.
All right, Comrade, let me start by asking you, do you have power supply at home as we speak?
No.
Okay, I guess the national grid thing also affected your environment too.
Yeah, I'm told power supply went down to 0.00.
Actually, on the papers this morning, there are two stories that taking the center stage. That is one, the collapse of the national grid again, which is collapsing for the sixth time in the year 2024 alone. And the second story that's taking the center stage on virtually all the papers this morning is the ill treatment, or let me say the hostile treatment being given to the Super Eagles players at the Libya airport. Let me just take account of some of the papers I have this morning. I have, looking at the Guardian newspaper this morning, I have this one saying that football foul play, Nigeria CAF go head-to-head over Super Eagles ordeal in Libya, page 6 as that story. And talking about the national grid thing, let me see the story. Okay, states in darkness as national grid collapses again. And this is a story I'm finding quite interesting. Why Tinubu's economic reforms should last 15 more years by World Bank. That story is found on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Away from the Guardian newspaper, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, you can see the pictures of members of the Super Eagles. I can see the skipper Trust Ekong, who is taking a nap. I can see Chidera Ejuike and Kelechi Iheanacho playing Ludo while stranded at the airport in Libya. But thank God they are back in Nigeria. But because of our time, let's start with the national grid. Comrade, this is the sixth time the national grid is collapsing this year alone. What is happening?
Well, there are two parts to power. There is a generation, there is a transmission, and there is a distribution. When they say the national grid has collapsed, that has to do with transmission. Just 2 weeks ago, I've been told that we are doing 5,000, that we are generating over 5,000 megawatts of power. Even at that, I smile to myself. What is 5,000 megawatts of power considering Nigeria's size and need? But even at 5,000, 6,000, The national grid that transmits the power is not capable of delivering it. And what is the major challenge that causes this total, blackout? Now, when you are transmitting power in Nigeria, I have asked, and the engineers in terms of transmission have told me that the challenge is that we use what they call a radial transmission. And the analogy I will use is if you are traveling to Kaduna from Lagos,
okay,
and there is and you are from Lagos, you have to pass through Shagam, you have to pass through Ibadan, and then you have to pass through Shagam Junction. So anybody that is going to the east or going to Lagos, if anything happens at Shagam intersection, nobody will be able to go. That is the kind of transmission we are doing. In a nation of 1 million square kilometers, there are no backup line. You understand? There are no backup transmission lines. Everything is radial. So if there's a breakdown, then everything comes to a standstill. We don't need to. You see, this is not how we started. They used to generate power in LA with coal. This LA dam. They used to. If you go there, you'll still see the medics. They used to generate power there. They used to generate power in Enugu. They used to generate power in Jos. Then the military came. They thought they could unify Nigeria by decree. And they started nationalizing everything and making everything national. And we cannot maintain it. We cannot sustain it. And now the rot.
But don't you feel that the subsequent administrations should have noticed this and decentralized the power generation thing?
You see, you notice that what about Sojo came? They tried to sell off national assets. They tried to BP, Bureau of Public Enterprise. They tried. There was an era in which it was nationalization, in which government was in every space. Government was doing business. Government was in airline. Government was in shipping. Government was in steel. Government was everywhere. You understand? Then the era came that, look, this is not sustainable. And then it became government must not be in business. You understand? The business of government is to provide enabling environment. But you see, when they unbundled NEPA because before, we just knew NEPA. We didn't know there was generation, there was transmission, there was distribution. You understand? We just knew there was NEPA. Then they unbundled NEPA. They sold the distribution companies. They were supposed to sell to those who had capacity. So what did you see? As all national assets, they sold to their colleagues and friends and associates. You understand? So they are unable to do the needful in terms of investment. Look at what happened let's just use the telecoms, for example. Of course, they sold the license to those who have proven ability. You understand? Financial muscle and technical muscle. If you have the financial muscle and you do not have the technical backing, you cannot do it. So we did not do that with power. As critical as power is, instead of doing what we did with telecoms, we didn't do that. We sold because it was national asset. We sold it to their colleagues.
Comrade, over the years, many administrations have spent a huge amount of money in addressing the problem in the power sector. Do we say that they are spending the money in the wrong direction? They are not facing the right direction for them not to be able to have got it right all these years?
Obasanjo is alleged, and I use that word advisedly. Obasanjo is alleged to have spent $16 billion on power. But what did we see? They had to set up a probe. I will never forget.
I remember Jonathan too. Jonathan administration also spent a huge amount of money on that too.
So at the end of the day, they set up a probe to probe how the money was spent and what it was spent on. At the end of the day, they had to disband that House committee and set up another probe to probe the committee that was to probe mismanagement. You can see how terrible we are. You understand? So that is the situation. And you see, who is going to invest in an unstable environment? Look at oil and gas. We have 5,000 kilometers of pipeline. Why are we busy carrying products around in tankers that are damaging our roads? 5,000 kilometers of pipeline. but it is under government, it is under NMPC control. Who will come and invest? We have 20 or so, 18 or 20 something depots. Who will come and invest? NMPC that owns those depots is renting depots in Apapa. Can you imagine?
Okay.
So, but it is the enabling environment that is critical.
Okay, as we wrap up this particular issue on the power sector, I just want us to be brief on it. Now, in recent time, our president Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been going around trying to woo foreign investors into the country, telling them that they should come and invest in Nigeria. But with this incessant collapse of the national grid, and we still have the issue on the oil issue still ravaging in the country, do we say that the president is not looking inward first before bringing in foreign investors? I mean, to address these issues on ground.
There is this belief in and about Nigeria, that there is the market. You understand? 230 million people. There is no market like that in Africa. So whether the purchasing power is high or low or whatever, there is still a market. That is what they believe in. That is what they are going around selling. They are not selling a neighboring environment. You understand? What they are selling is, no matter your cost of production, there is still a market for you. You understand? So that's what they're busy with. Rather than doing the needful, the laws, the necessary laws, and not just the laws, the institutions that are supposed to enable investment, they are busy playing ambush. When our president went to India, the man he went to, one of the biggest guys in India, he said, Mr. President, my papers have been in Abuja bureaucracy in the past 1 year. If you see your figure, $500 million US investment, the people are thinking you are bringing, or they are thinking you have that 500 million. Whereas it is investment. Investment is not just in naira and copper. You bring equipment, you bring personnel. All those ones are cost. You understand? Put in dollars. Then they start saying, 500 million. We want 10 million on it. And then those ones will just draw back. Because at the end of the day, it will affect the cost of production. And then it looks unattractive.
All right, comrade, let's look at another issue now. One issue that is taking the center stage on virtually all the papers this morning. It's about the Super Eagles' experience in Libya. And taking the account of the Vanguard newspaper now, Cup of Nations qualifier, how Libya held Eagles hostage in disused airport for 15 hours. And on the program this morning, I have an eyewitness account. And this is Promise Efoge, the Super Eagles media officer, giving a detailed account of what the Super Eagles went through from while they were on the plane, before it landed in Libya, and how everything went down. Let's take a listen at Promise Efoge, the media officer of the Super Eagles team.
Here's a quick download of what transpired when the Nigerian Super Eagles arrived Libya for the return leg as far as the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers are concerned. The Super Eagles of Nigeria left Ikotekpene, their base, in high spirits, flew a chartered flight into Libya called Al-Bakan to an airport used only for Hajj, and then the pilot only said this to some of the officials of the Nigeria Football Federation not to create any apprehension amongst the players, and we landed in the eastern part of Libya. The initial destination was Benghazi, and we're supposed to land in Benghazi and take a 2-hour trip to Benina, where the game was supposed to be played. And now we were told that the team cannot leave the premises of the airport. And initially, the Nigeria Football Federation had made arrangements, logistical arrangements for the team in Benghazi. Our boss was waiting in Benghazi for the team, and on arrival here, no one has a Libyan SIM card. They shut down the Wi-Fi at the airport, so there was no communication whatsoever. No one could communicate with anybody from this location, and so everyone was just in no man's land. So at that point, the Nigerian Football Federation officials were like, okay, you know what, we have to take our destiny in our own hands. Let's find alternatives. Let's see if we can get alternative means of leaving this environment to Benghazi. The Olympians here said the team would not leave. They shut down the airport, shut the gates, and held the team hostage here. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has been alerted. FIFA has been alerted. The federal government of Nigeria has also been alerted on the situation, and the federal government is making a frantic effort to evacuate the team back into Nigeria. The game was scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday. The players said they will not kick a ball. These were the antics planned by the Olympians to destabilize the Nigerian Super Eagles. The team is still in the eastern part of Libya, waiting for the federal government's action to get the team back to Nigeria.
Okay, comrade, I'm sure you listened to Promise Foge there, the media officer of the Super Eagles. That was his account as at yesterday afternoon before they arrived in Abuja last night. So what do you make out of that? Did you listen to the harsh treatment being meted out to the Super Eagles in Libya?
You see, the records are there. I recall that way back in 1980, during the All-African Games, Nigeria played Algeria. I remember Nigeria won that match by 3-0. And I remember that the Algerian players representing the North African geopolitical zone generally, they pounced on the referee, took the paper he was using to record, issues on the pitch, and tore it into pieces. You will also notice that any time we go to play in North Africa, we are always playing in the dead of the night when the weather is cold, when West Africans are not used to. You understand? Or they play when it is hot, blazing sun.
The blazing sun, yeah.
Sun.
Which of course the West Africans are not that used to.
And of course, North Africa is on a high level.
Yes.
You understand? In altitude, where air is very thin. So you tire out easily. You play in the sun and you play when it is when the air, they take them to where the air is very, very thin. Now, what happened? They were supposed to play in Benghazi. Benghazi is not even the capital of Libya, you understand? Tripoli is the capital.
Tripoli is the capital,
yeah. So they took them to Benghazi to play. They were supposed to land in Benghazi and play their match. But they diverted them. As they were already taken off, they diverted them. And we're told that airport is designated for Hajj
operations alone.
Which means that it is usually deserted.
It is a disused at the moment airport.
And it is 200 plus kilometers away from Benghazi. How do you deposit people there?
About 3.5 hours journey to Benghazi from there.
For God's sake, they're going to sit down in a bus and drive, even probably not good road, you understand?
Yes.
They drive that distance and they have a match to play. And the funny thing, the Libya Football Federation issued a statement that it was not deliberate nor intentional. But they did not stop there. They now said, Nigeria meted out harsh treatment to them also.
Can you imagine?
You see, and that they did not complain. You just leave. These things you did not complain. You cannot, because the suggestion that the conspiracy theories are okay, you are retaliating.
It was more like tit for tat.
And when you are retaliating, you do what that was done to you. Now, thankfully, the CAF responded. And I noticed in the wording of the CAF response that CAF was disturbed and amazed at what Libya did. Of course, they went ahead to say they were going to set up, put the matter to the disciplinary committee panel of the, but they already showed concern and worry because apparently they got some facts that make them make such a statement even before referring it to disciplinary committee, which means that they have some information, that is disturbing enough for them to deploy those words.
But I know some Nigerians will see this more than a retaliation because, looking at the process, according to the media officer, he said the airport was locked. They locked them in deliberately, shut down the Wi-Fi. No food was provided, no drinks, nothing. They were not even allowed out of that place, despite the fact that the Super Eagles team and the entire team was ready to move to the place they were designated to be. Looking at the end, for years now, we have heard so many stories about the harsh treatment being meted out to Nigerians, not just Super Eagles now, in that same country called Libya.
You see, the question now is, do we have a diplomatic mission in Libya?
I got a clip of some Nigerians complaining in Libya.
Look, this is a diplomatic issue now.
Now, this is, comrade, just take a listen.
Wait a minute. Those guys you're talking about, they are there on their individual terms and conditions.
Okay.
This is a Nigerian delegation. You understand? Not a Nigerian national team.
But should there be a difference? Should we be hostile to ourselves? Are we not Africans?
There is a distinction.
Okay.
There is a clear distinction. Are we aware whether they enter Libya legally or illegally? We do not have information.
But we also have Libyans. We have Libyans living happily here in Nigeria.
Even if they enter illegally, there are minimum kind of treatment you subject them to. Look, Libya is at war. Libya is under control of different factions. Militarized. Libya is a militarized state. So Nigerians who go there are certainly ignorant or aware and choose to go. So we're talking about a Nigerian delegation here. And for me, as a student of diplomacy, there is a Nigerian mission in Libya. What did they do? Were they aware of the situation? The moment they were diverted, what did the NFF people do? You understand? Were they able to reach them? And what was their action? Were they able to reach? They gave or informed the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
I saw an interview with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was visibly worried, and he in the interview he said he had made contact. He said he had made contact. Let me tell you what he said.
Did the Nigerian mission do?
He made a statement that what's it called? Libya doesn't have an ambassador at the moment, but he was making effort. He called the name.
They have representation.
Yes, that's what he said. He said he made some contacts to them and trying to make sure that at least the safety of the Super Eagles.
What about our own mission there? Were they informed? Were they alerted? What did they do? Our mission there in Libya. If we have representation in Tripoli, we will have representation in Benghazi. What did they do? These are questions we must ask ourselves in-house within the Nigerian system. What will they do? Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recalled Nigeria's ambassadors over, I think, about a year ago. Career and non-career ambassadors, they were all recalled. They have not been replaced. These are issues. You understand? So, it is either the charge of the affairs or head of chancellery that is currently in charge. What do we have? We will have full diplomatic representation. And what did they do?
But I also feel that the African Union, the AU, should do something about this hostility being meted out to some, because I know some years ago we had a report of what some South Africans were. Pardon?
You know now, they call it non-interference. That's the policy of non-interference.
But AU can't fold its arms and watch Africans be hostile to themselves.
Non-interference.
Non-interference.
It's a policy. It is a policy of AU.
Okay. Even when the lives of Africans are at risk.
Okay, since Nigerians were being killed in South Africa, did you hear anything from AU?
Which is bad, which is not good enough. Then what is the essence of the African unity if the
The
unity is
police
not
non-interference in the internal affairs of nation.
okay,
The police
well,
non-interference.
non-interference.
It's
It's a policy.
It's the policy. Yeah.
Okay. All right, comrade, that's the much we can take on the program this morning. We'll have more time to spend on the program tomorrow morning.
All
I
right.
know you'll be here physically then. Thank you very much for joining me virtually this morning,
God bless
comrade.
you. Thank
And wishing
you.
you a very
Thank
wonderful
you.
day.
And you too, brother. Tomorrow is another day by God's grace.
Definitely. All right, that's the wrap for today. My name is Adedamola Laughing. Well, like I said, we'll be back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of From the Dailies on your number one radio dial, Solutions at 93.9 FM. Wishing every one of us a very wonderful day. Good morning once again.